Welcome to Box Free with Stephanie. Today I want to show you how to make some basic foods using simple ingredients from scratch. And I hope you discover cooking box free is fast and delicious. So let's cook together. Today we're going to make Philly steak sandwiches, which I just realized my steak is still in the freezer. But we're going to start right away by chopping onion and peppers and caramelizing them. But I got to get my steak out. I put this in the freezer about 45 minutes ago because that's a little trick to like slice super thin pieces is when your meat's really hard. So now I'm going to just let that sit out for a second here. So Philly cheese steak sandwiches or whatever are really just onions and meat with provolone cheese. But I like to add green peppers, or in this case, orange pepper, just because, I don't know, I just kind of like the peppers on there, I guess. But you wouldn't have to add the pepper. I think an official Philly steak sandwich does not have any green pepper in it. So what I'm doing is chopping up one small onion, and I've got my pan here. I'm going to start caramelizing my onions. So what I'm going to do is just put my onions in here. And I didn't dice mine super small. I don't know, I guess I just don't do things the way the book does. But, you know, most Philly steak sandwiches I see have little cubes of onion. But, I don't know, I kind of like the longer pieces. Almost like a fajita style or pasta primavera style. But I just feel like I kind of like to have the longer strips in there just because that's the kind of size of meat I have. So I like my onions to kind of match that. Oh my gosh, it's making my eyes cry. Okay, so we're going to do the one onion and then, hang on, this is kind of crazy, one pepper. Or we'll see how much it is. Like maybe I'll leave these two for later. But for this, I'm going to just dice these up in nice long strips. I'm not going to dice them. I'm going to just kind of julienne them. Again, that's just my personal style. If you want them to be nice little cubes so that they kind of fit on your sandwich and they're not so long, then just make them cubed. I just personally like the longer style. And I don't really know why. I guess because I like the look of it, I suppose. So what we need to do is wait for these to cook nicely so that our onions are going to be nice and caramelized. And today I'm only making 3 sandwiches, so I don't really have a whole lot of ingredients. If you were making like 4 or 6, you'd probably want a large onion and probably for sure the whole pepper. In fact, I'm just going to use this up and put this in here because I don't really need to save this little bitty amount. I mean, this is all kind of relative to whatever you want. I mean, you obviously have to have enough to serve up your sandwiches, but if you like it to be kind of heavy on meat or heavy on peppers or heavy on onions probably, then you would just cook up more. But you could kind of assume you're going to need 1 onion for 4 to 6 sandwiches. So, and then this is like 1 pound of steak. And I'm going to use that for my 3 sandwiches, but I think you could get away with 4 sandwiches if you wanted. So I'm going to be probably a little bit heavy on the meat and lighter on the onions today, which is okay, whatever. It's all just very flexible. Oh, and I got to get up my cheese. I had my cheese prepped up. This is provolone. We're going to put that on at the end. So while this is just sitting here cooking, I'm going to flip this over so my bread doesn't taste like onions. And then I'm going to prepare my bread that I'm going to use. So I think officially, again, you're supposed to have a hoagie bun. But I saw these onion hamburger buns at the store and I just thought they looked really good. And in my opinion, you just need like a thick bread product, you know, like whatever. So I have done hoagies before and they're totally fine. This is an actual official hamburger bun, so I think the bread itself is just a little bit like softer, and I personally think that's going to be just fine. But if you want that hoagie with kind of the thicker, denser bread, just buy that. you can kind of do whatever you want to. But a hoagie, you definitely want like a nice sturdy bread. Like you wouldn't want just, you know, the store-bought bread, sliced bread that you make toast out of, because it's just not sturdy enough. This is such a kind of hearty sandwich that ends up being like smashed together. So you want like a nice piece of bread. Okay, so I'm going to turn on my griddle back here. I have this back here because I want to grill my buns. So I'm only grilling 3 because, again, I'm only serving 3. So you would make this for however many people you're serving. So I'm just going to cut my buns in half. And if you had a hoagie, you might want to leave it together because then you'd have this nice long seam. But I don't know. I don't really think it matters. It's kind of a personal preference. If you want that kind of hoagie stuck together and then there's like a nice, it's like a taco shell or burrito, you know, where there's not an opening, just leave it like that. But these are going to be really nice and flat. So I'm going to do it that way. And then I need a butter knife. So all you're doing with the bread is just trying to get a nice toasted bun is what you're going for. You can toast as much as you want to. And I need to add some salt to my onions. Okay, so I'm going to butter these, and then I'm going to put them on my griddle back there. Just let them kind of hang out and get nice and toasty and crispy. And then that'll provide a really nice kind of crunch and a really good taste, I think, too. I used to make this without doing this extra step because I was like, who cares if the bread is toasted? It's really not going to matter. And then one day I was like, I should just try it. And it's really good. Like, it's worth the extra little bit of effort. And it's not that hard. I'm just buttering toast and sticking it on there. So anyway, I'm saying it's kind of worth it. It does make it a little bit nicer. It makes you feel like you're like really at a restaurant, kind of like, you know, how they have it so fancy, all grilled and perfect. You can make it grilled and perfect too. All right, so this is still cooking. I'm going to go back here, put these down. Okay. So those should just sit there and toast for a while. Then I'm going to get rid of my crumbs. And now I'm going to slice my steak. So usually I use just venison for this, like whatever, a venison roast or backstrap or whatever I have. Oh, this is looking a little bit funky-fied. Okay, so this is just a round bottom steak. So I'm going to cut this giant thing of fat off here because nobody needs a little slice of that in their Philly steak sandwich. But you do want kind of marbleized meat because it will make it kind of nice and tender. But I want to slice this chunk of fat off too. Oh, and my dog is right here. She's like hoping I'll really drop something, which I probably will. Okay, so this is, I think I'll keep that. Okay, so this is so wide, I'm going to cut this in half. And then I'm going to slice my pieces out of this. And this is really cold, so it should actually slice up really nicely. Because, I mean, it should maintain its shape because it's kind of frozen. So I should be able to get some really nice thin pieces out of it here. Let's see if I can manage that. Okay, so this is keepers. And I was using this knife. Okay, so again, you just want these to be kind of as paper thin as you can get, and that is so that they cook up really fast and stay really tender, and then you have kind of these nice small pieces of meat to eat instead of any like big chunk of chewy meat, you know. So the other trick with that then is to not overcook it when you're actually grilling them up. So I guess if you don't want to do this part, you could probably buy like stir fry. I mean, you're going for, you know, this is like paper thin kind of. You're trying to get it like that. So I'm sure they sell stir fry beef in the stores that's already cut like this. So if you don't want to take the time to slice it, just just buy it already sliced. No big deal. And if you want to get really fancy and you have like a meat slicer, you could pull that puppy out and like be the real paper thin slice. This is like really cold. My fingers are so cold right now. Wow, I don't think I usually keep it in the freezer that long. Or I take it out of the freezer like in the morning and then it's still kind of frozen when I'm slicing it. But this is just really cold. Whew. All right, I feel like I'm cutting through a bunch of fatty parts on this side. Let's see here. Yeah, that just feels really tough all of a sudden. So we're just gonna put that there. Okay, so I got half my meat done. My fingers are cold. Warm them up on the pan. Oopsie, I better check my little buns back here. Make sure they're not getting too crazy brown. All right, they are doing perfect. And my onions are getting nice and clear. You do want to try to caramelize these and cook them nice and slow and long to bring out that good caramely flavor. So now I'm going to slice these up. Let's see, I need to change it like this so I have more room. Okay, so you can see this is, I think, plenty of meat for 3 sandwiches. So I don't know, we'll have to see how much it really ends up once I cook it up. I might pull some out before I put my cheese on. Because what you do is you're cooking this in your pan and then you put your cheese right into the pan and serve it all kind of from there. So I don't think it makes very good leftovers once you put the cheese on. But if I just cooked my meat and then kept that separately, then I could have a stir fry tomorrow with my meat already done. So that will work. And then did you know that Philly steak sandwiches, like in Philadelphia or whatever, Pennsylvania and stuff, they use like canned cheese sauce or whatever that stuff is, the canned, I don't know if it's Cheese Whiz or what, but like, I just find that crazy. I can't believe they actually use that stuff. But I guess they do. Not on all of them. I mean, a lot of them I'm sure have provolone too. Whew, my fingers are cold. Wow, that is really crazy. All right, I think I'm gonna wash my hands really quick since I was just cutting raw meat. And then when I get back, we will pull this aside and cook our meat up. Okay, so first I'm gonna check my buns again back here. See how they're getting like gold in there? That's what I'm looking for. Ooh, that one's really gold. Oh, that one's done. Oh, that's definitely done. All right. So I'm gonna pop these back here. This is where my heat is. Okay. So you can kind of push down on them. You know, some of these buns are like up just a little bit, so you have to almost like push them down to get the butter to brown on them. But this one is done. So you see how this is nice and toasted, really like a nice toast thing. So actually I'm gonna stick this right here. I want it to stay warm, but not like get over browned. So that should be okay because I turned that front burner off. Okay, so when you have your onions and your peppers, or just your onions if you're not doing it with the peppers, which the peppers again are not the real Philly steak cheese, Philly steak cheese sandwich. But I'm gonna call that good. So now I'm going to put all my peppers, take them out of my pan because I don't want my meat to have to cook with these. I'm gonna add them back in, but I'm gonna get most of these out of here. And then I'm going to cook my meat for as short as time as possible. I mean, it obviously has to get done, but I really don't want it any more than done because I want all that meat to be really tender and chew really nicely. So give me just a minute here to get my butter kind of melty. Turn up my pan again. All right. And I don't know, I just guesstimate how much butter I'm putting in. And like, I did a tablespoon probably for the onions. I'm doing a tablespoon for this. You know, you're just sauteing, so whatever. If you want to use olive oil, you sure could. So I'm going to add all of my meat. My pan is not even sizzling, so I must have lost my heat. But you want to kind of spread it out because you want all these paper thin pieces to really be on the pan, you know. So this should only take about 3 minutes, I'm guessing. And then we're going to put this back in, add our cheese, and assemble it all. So we'll be right back. Okay, now my meat is really nice and hot and sizzling, which is perfect. So I just want to stir it around and get all those pieces cooked. You know, it's been maybe like 2 minutes, but this hot plate thing isn't quite as even and beautiful as a stove is. So we're gonna let that sit. I'm gonna check my buns. All right, this is almost done. I'm gonna turn my thing off. So I got these two are all done, and then these two are done. So now I'm just waiting for this one, and they are almost done. I don't know if you guys can see my steam coming off my cast iron back here. Woo, it's really hot. So I have these, this is already turned off. In fact, I think I'm just gonna put my cast iron over here so that I don't get any direct heat, but they still stay warm on my metal thing here, my cast iron. So yeah, we'll just push these all up. Okay, so now we're just waiting for our steak to get cooked. And it is cooking up nicely. And I am going to salt it. For this recipe, everything I've always seen really just uses salt and pepper. It's kind of surprising. Like I've seen a couple with garlic, but you just don't need much more than salt and pepper. So, and I have no idea. I probably just added a teaspoon, maybe half a teaspoon, but probably a good teaspoon, I would say. And then whatever, as much pepper as you want. But it is kind of interesting that you really don't need a lot of other spices. But you want that salt to bring out the flavor of the steak and the onions when they get together here. All right, so we're gonna let that sit for another minute. Make sure my buns are doing okay. They're still like warmish back there. And then here is my provolone cheese. This is just sliced provolone. And so once I add my onions back, then I'm gonna make like 3 little, I kind of divide the meat and the onions into 3 little piles, and then you put your cheese on, and that makes your sandwich basically. So this is almost done. You really don't want it to be overly cooked, like I said, but I definitely have some red and some pink in my meat yet, so I don't want to serve up raw steak. That would not, well, I mean, I guess people do eat it rare, but we're not making steak tartare. We're making Philly steak sandwiches, and we want them brown, I guess. So, but I think I'm going to sprinkle my onions back over the top so that they can start to warm up, and then by the time my meat is cooked in about another minute, my onions will be warmed up again. Then I'll add my cheese, and then we'll be ready to assemble and eat. So yeah, and I have done this, I think, with a different cheese than provolone, and let's just say I wouldn't recommend that. Like, something about the provolone is just really good. I think because it melts so nicely, and it's got, you know, a better taste than like mozzarella. I think I've done it with mozzarella and Swiss, and the old family said, nope, don't do that again. So, because of course I don't have provolone in my fridge, so I'm always like, oh, we can just make do, and I guess sometimes you can't make do. I mean, it certainly wasn't like a bad sandwich, but not what they wanted. So, all right. So we are going to just finish up. I have just a few pieces in here that I see are not quite brown. But I don't know if you guys can see this okay, but to me this looks like a really hefty sandwich for 3. Like if I was doing 4, I'd say like that's a really nice amount, but we're going to kind of overload our sandwiches tonight because I only have 3 people I'm cooking for. And I don't think we need to worry about leftovers. But this is basically like fajitas. I mean, I could practically serve this with fajitas right now, and you're doing the same thing except maybe adding some cumin, chili powder, or else it takes taco spice. But really fajitas are very much like this. They look just like that. And again, if you weren't doing the peppers, you wouldn't have peppers in here. But I am, so I do. Okay, so I need to get my, oh wait, I have a minute here. I need to get a lid. Okay, because what I want to do is put my cheese on and then put the lid on so everything can get nice kind of melty. So I think we're going to call it good. I don't really see any pink or red anymore. So I'm going to kind of make 3 little piles if I can. So what I want to do is have my cheese melt over the part that I'm going to put on each little sandwich. So that's why I want to have it all kind of divvied out and see who's getting what. Okay, so we're going to call that good. So now I'm going to take provolone, and you want a hefty amount, really. I mean, these are like super thin. They were crazy hard to get off the little pre-packaged thing. I wish I would have just bought a block like I usually do, but thought my life would be easier with sliced, and it really was not. But anyway, my point is I kind of go hefty on the provolone because we like cheese and whatever. It's all fine. So now I'm going to put that on. I'm going to turn my heat off, actually. And then we'll just wait about a minute. Oh, I was going to get my buns. That's what I was going to do. So this one, and this one, and this one. Okay. And then my 3 tops. So you can see, I don't know if you can see, but this is just really soft bread. So if you had like a true hoagie bun, it'd be a little more substantial and like wouldn't be so soft and delicate. But again, it really doesn't matter. It's just a matter of what you want. So we're going to just wait. All right, see, that's getting all nice and melty, but not quite ready yet. We have to just wait. And these are feeling a little bit cooled off. And that's like, I don't do any other sauce with this. So this is all I do, just this. And if you have a hoagie bun, which I have done before, then how I like to do the cheese is I spread it out like over the whole, like if this is my hoagies here, I try to make the meat really thin and little with cheese on both sides so that then you can put the, I'll show you in a second when I do, but you put the whole hoagie on top of your cheese and the cheese kind of sticks to the bread. Then you pick it all up and like close it together and it works pretty good. This time I'm just going to put the bun right on here and then scoop it up and put the bottom on. But I think you'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, so we just got that one that's a little taken slower. But I'm going to put each bun right on top of the cheese, and then I'm going to scoop this out and put it on here, and that's when you're done. So like this, and put it on here. Doesn't that look good? Oh my gosh. Yum. This is just a really hefty sandwich too. Looks delicious. All that nice cheese all over. Oh my gosh, look at that. So I think they look pretty cool too. And then I still have leftovers. Wow. All right. I'm missing some here. Oh, I got to get that in there. Uh-oh. These are a little bit hard with the round ones. Okay. Whoa. All right. So there are your Philly steak sandwiches. And then all of this I will probably just put on the table, and whoever wants to add more can just add a little bit more. Oh, I should take a bite. Okay, because they look really good. This is going to be really messy. So I realized I forgot to taste it, which is what I usually do. So I would have added more salt if I would have thought to taste the meat ahead of time. But the provolone is really good. If you like mushrooms, I also think mushrooms would be really yummy on this. But then it might be more like a mushroom Swiss burger, so you kind of lose the whole Philly cheese sandwich. But that's it. Those are your Philly steak sandwiches. So thank you very much for watching Box Free with Stephanie. I hope you like the show. I hope you try the sandwiches and your family thinks they're as great as the restaurant. And I appreciate your time watching. I will see you guys later. Bye.